It's the SKOR North Twin Show.
SKOR North Extra Innings, Declan Goff here, live from Target Field. Happy Pablo Day to those who celebrate, unless you're Judd Zulgad, and apparently everything just upsets you and you don't even like Pablo Day, which I don't understand how anyone could dislike Pablo Day, but apparently I think Judd's just pissed about the Twins TV situation, so he's just taking out on random things. And Pablo Day has been the latest thing, AJ, that he expressed to us on the main episode of the SKOR North Twin Show. But I always love Pablo Day. He gets the Yankees here today. We won't dive too much into that. But welcome to Extra Innings. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Almost daily Minnesota Twins coverage. You can expect Extra Innings content from just about every home game for the Minnesota Twins and select road games. Extra Innings also hitting the road this weekend for the Cleveland Guardians series. So I will be at Progressive Field. Right? Yeah, Progressive Field. It used to be Jacobs Field. Now it's Progressive Field. I'll be there from Cleveland for some Extra Innings content as well. So super excited for that. So again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for SKOR North Twins content. That's AJ Fredrickson. I'm Declan Goff. AJ, I want to start here. So there was a big piece on ESPN.com today just about everyone's favorite word in sports right now, which is load management. Something that we've heard for the last 4 or 5 years in sports, primarily in the NBA. You're a soccer guy. It also happens a lot, I know, in soccer to a degree.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't happen too much in hockey, and it really obviously can't happen in football, even though football is the most dangerous and the most violent sport, but they're only playing, for the most part, once a week. So I wanted to ask Rocco just about what is his thoughts on load management. And he gave me a decent quote, just that, some of that stuff in baseball has been a while, but it became a big conversation for him when he first got hired here in 2019. And he said, sometimes it's conversations with guys of just, hey, how are they feeling and whatnot. But a lot of the time, those decisions, those load management decisions, that is, are kind of made. And at the end of the day, he's the manager, so he's not going to try to overcomplicate a lot of those decisions. Now, he didn't dive into me if those decisions also come from above or whatnot. Again, he is the manager. He wants to put the best product on the field there is every single time. But there is interesting tendencies. I think, as we've watched this year, the Twins unload their bench because if there's a righty or lefty situation with the surplus of left-handed hitters, they can also unload some of those bench options. So the load management thing, I'll get into some other things on it, but I guess, you're a Cubs fan, you're a ball guy. What is your kind of take when you hear load management now trickling in to baseball?
Game's gone. I in baseball, I hate it. Because I want to say it as this, I think I've become more open-minded as I approach my late 20s now, but it's baseball. In my mind, okay, that's about as good of a life as you can get. You play baseball throughout the summer, you're playing on a day-to-day basis. So yes, there are a lot of games, but for the most part, you're getting 3 to 5 at-bats a day. Maybe you're out in left field, you're kicking some dirt around, you're watching a butterfly pass by, and you shag a couple fly balls. Why not? If you're a pitcher, you go once, maybe twice a week, all this stuff. But when it comes to load management, some of these guys with repetitive injuries, because athletes nowadays are pushing themselves further and past the barriers than can you imagine putting Babe Ruth through a normal day of Byron Buxton? No. If you look at some of these old tapes that we have of him working out, and I say working out knowing how I look, I would look like a Greek god compared to Babe Ruth.
Yes, you would.
Thank you. He doesn't know what muscles Byron Buxton has rippling off his shoulders and stuff like that. It's just a different game. It's a different world. So I've become more open to the sense that these guys, they wear themselves down more. They probably need more recovery time. So load management, I'm a little more open to. And Rocco, I'll give credit to him. He's probably, of MLB managers, has there been a guy that's probably had to face the load management style of managing more in the past 2-3 years than him? One of your main superstars in Byron Buxton has been kind of on and off, and we know there's injury habits in there as well, but he's kind of been on the forefront of, okay, we got to have you sit a day, then we'll have you out there for the next 2, and then just really getting in the medical staff's face of how far can we push him without aggravating or pushing things back to Now he's missing a week because we needed him to pinch run, on we needed a run in the ninth, and that's our best option. He's coming off the bench, that type of thing. So I'm progressively getting better with the idea of some of these guys saying, yeah, hey, I do need a day off. That being said, I don't want this to be a NBA style, because I think in the NBA it has gotten way, way out of proportion. Credit to Anthony Edwards, because he loves the game of basketball. He seems like he's out there, he understands, and he's on record, I think, saying like these guys, some fans might pay,
right.
part of their weekly paycheck, and they're coming to see me. And if I take that night off, that wrecks their entire outing, that impacts their perception of me as a player. And I'm the attraction here. So to an extent it's there, but at the same time, I think it's one of those, we'll know it when we see it, when some guy goes way overboard in the load management realm.
Yeah, to your point, it's probably never going to severely happen in Major League Baseball, just because there's games every day to a degree. But there are areas, I think, and you hinted at this a little bit. Yeah, Rocco's kind of, I don't know if the word's poster boy is it, but he's someone that has embraced some of these different things that you have to do to win baseball games and to keep everyone healthy. On the Buxton front, because you brought him up. So Buxton, by the way, beginning a rehab assignment on Wednesday in St. Paul, batting second, playing center field. I don't know if the plan is for him to play center again tomorrow. I'm going to assume, and there wasn't clarity on this in the clubhouse, I'm going to assume probably a DH day tomorrow as well, and probably also, to be honest, 7 innings maybe today, 5 innings tomorrow. He's not going to play 18 innings with the St. Paul Saints, at least. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I doubt that's the case. And then with Buck, when he comes back, because I wrote this down, I want to go back and find this because we talked a little bit about it last night. So Byron Buxton started 22 of the first 23 games this season. He was in center field. There were some highs and lows with his bat, but most importantly, in center field, playing 22 of the first 23 games. And then the knee flared up, I believe, in Chicago. He has to go on the IL. He is on rest and recovery. He now is in St. Paul trying to figure out if he can obviously stand and withhold playing baseball over a significant amount of time. Rocco didn't give me anything on Buck's, next steps plan in terms of load management, as this is the buzzword of today's episode. But I'd have to imagine, I would think he's probably not going to be a guy that does start 22 of the next 23 games again. This is probably going to be someone that will see center field for 2 games, and maybe he's on the bench. Maybe he's a DH, because the biggest thing is getting this guy for October. And yes, you need to win games. You need to win games today to play in October. But I think with Buck, there's probably going to be a new plan. I don't think it's just run him out there until his leg falls off necessarily. I think now it's probably going to be a little bit more cautious and being careful with how they want to handle him. I know fans are going to hate it. He catches probably more strays than anyone else on this Twins roster. But AJ, I'd rather see him in October. I don't need to see him playing, 7 consecutive days against the Guards, the Royals, the Nationals, etc. I'd much rather have him ready for October. So whatever it takes load management-wise to get Buck healthy, I'm all for it. Muted. AJ. Pull the Judd. It's okay.
Oh, my goodness. That's 2 nights in a row I've gone full Judd. There's the old expression of, smoke them if you got them.
Yeah, oh yeah.
This is not the case for that, because we're not talking about Marlboro Reds. We're talking about Byron Buxton. We're talking about a primetime center fielder in the major leagues. So, yes, you absolutely would rather have him in October. So maybe if you go on the cautious side of things and you scale back, let's say hey, we know we can get him for 60 games from now between the end of the year. I wouldn't be opposed to scaling that closer to 50, just so for a fact, hey, we're going to have him when it matters most. Because I think for the most part, you could say the rest of this bullpen on paper is able to probably get into the postseason, whether that's winning the division or in a wild card. They're in a spot, I think, where they're able to secure that at some point, even if a limited participation by Byron Buxton. But God, when it comes down to the most important parts of the year, you're going to have to push him. And that's going to be, going to be one of those things where, okay, maybe that first, you get a wild card matchup. You need him? No, but you probably need to burn it right? You're going to want to pull out one of those Marlboro Reds and light it up, whether or not you just had one the day before and he was in center field to help lock up that position. Like, you're going to have to say, Byron, we're going to get out there. And, if that puts in jeopardy a ALDS appearance, you know what? At least he got there by burning him in that first round. So I would say it comes back to what would be a happy spot for you. Like, what's the ratio of on field to load management day? 2-1, like a 66%.
Yeah,
I think that's livable because you're still seeing him enough, but it's like, yeah, you're gonna notice the days he's not there. So I would say about 2/3 of the rest of the way is like fine by me.
Two things. Yeah, I think almost the Joe Mauer plan, which again, I know people are going to catch strays for it, but the, catching back-to-back days and DHing or just getting a true off day. And I mean an off day. I mean, he is not available to hit, to pinch run, to come as a defensive replacement day. And that also probably means you probably got to go find a legitimate defensive center fielder. Like Willie Castro yesterday was, oof, oh boy, like good luck with that. We're going to see it again on Tuesday here today. And there was a journey in the outfield defense yesterday, but that probably heightens the ability or heightens the reasoning to go, get another defensive center fielder that is not Willie Castro, God bless him, or Austin Martin trying to learn the ropes in the major league. So that also accelerates that plan. I would say, yeah, it's 2 days here and an off day or a DH day. The issue is, you can't have a guy bogged down in the lineup that only plays DH. And Twins have had the luxury. Larnach's been DHing a lot the last few weeks because he's honestly, I think, dealing with something behind the scenes, an injury a little bit. Then you have Ryan Jeffers, who DH'd yesterday, who if Vazquez is going to catch, which I'll get into in just a little bit here, he's going to DH a lot. Kirilloff can DH. There's a lot of options to DH when Buxton isn't occupying that spot on the catching front. So obviously I didn't go back to see if this was the case, but it's very rare that one of these guys in Vazquez Jeffers catches back-to-back days. We saw it in the playoffs last year, and because it was out of necessity, because Ryan Jeffers was obviously the best option. But I asked Rocco about that today too. Does the catching plan though? That is the perfect mold of like legitimate and good reasoning of usage of load management. And Rocco said exactly right. We're getting away from catchers playing 120, catching 120, 115 games. We're getting more towards what should be, and almost honestly, a 55, 60, 40 even split for this team. Jeffers is always going to DH or play against the lefty because he absolutely crushes them. And right now he's playing at an MVP level. So he's going to try to find his way into the lineup as much as he can. Right now he's on pace, Jeffers, that is to play 142 games, again, putting up absurd numbers. And Christian Vazquez, although obviously not as good at the plate as Jeffers, but he's also won 2 World Series rings with 2 different teams, being also the complimentary part-time catcher. So that catching plan, I think, is absolutely huge. And eventually, as Rocco told us too, you're going to lose your catcher. Like, if you can go 162 with both your starting catchers not once hitting the IL, it's just so rare for it to happen. So eventually there's going to be an injury to one of those two. But that catching plan also factors in, again, to our special buzzword that everyone loves to hear, load management, because you just can't run a catcher out there for 120 games anymore.
Yeah, the catching position has sort of been it's kind of gone with what you see in the automotive industry. Like, you're getting these hybrids here, right? Where it's like, yeah, they can run on diesel or something, but that electric backup is there. And that's where the hybrid comes into. Nobody's like a true catcher anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, sure, you're not gonna have your Yadier Molinas that are just a mainstay behind the dish, and like, that he's catching 6 days a week or whatever. Guys, goes back to what I was talking about at the top with like some of the workout stuff. Like, the bodies are differently. The knees just can't take it. Like, it's such a taxing position. As good as some guys it may be behind the dish, it's such a taxing position. So if you're able to have a catcher that is a part of a split like the Twins have right now with Vazquez and Jeffers, where on maybe a non-catching day, one of those guys bumps into a DH role, or you can even stick them at a corner position where they're decent defensively. First base is probably the best spot to hide the guy there if he's capable enough at digging some bad throws out of the dirt. But you're just not gonna see a Yadier Molina, a
AJ Pierzynski.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Right,
I'm loving AJ. A guy who's gonna throw a righty.
And that guy hates that, like, catchers are only going like 55 to 45% of the plan. Like a guy like AJ Pierzynski is just probably furious over that idea.
Oh, yes, he hates that so much. God, get behind the plate, you wuss.
What are we doing? Yeah, I can absolutely see it. Cheap pole ads. I can absolutely see it, just ripping both those things. So both catchers, we saw it yesterday, right? Like Vazquez was catching, Jeffers was at DH, but that also limits you, right? Like, so if there is an injury to a catcher and Jeffers has to go in to catch or vice versa, then you lose your DH spot, which means you have to have your pitcher most likely hit in that spot, which is a potential issue if that happens. Rocco said if that happened early, we're just probably going to have to throw our starter into that spot and cross your fingers. But someone asked, okay, but like, what if it happens late? And like, you only have so many options for pitchers to hit. Apparently, Kody Funderburk is a phenomenal hitter. I went and looked this up. In his last year in college, Kody Funderburk hit 304, 13 home runs, 47 RBI. When he was drafted, they weren't sure if he projected better as a hitter or a pitcher. So I'm going to keep this between you and I. Write this down. Kody Funderburk will take an AB at some point this season. I'm all here for it. I know there's probably some jokes being like, well, he probably should be a hitter because he's struggled a little bit here and there. But at the same time, I love, pitchers who rake. Always a big fan of pitchers who rake. Kody Funderburk is the emergency pitching option, hitting option off the bench for a pitcher.
I'm going to have to dig deep into the archives of Dallas Baptist University because I would not peg Kody Funderburk as the prolific bullpen hitter that you're talking about. Over 300 with double-digit bombs. I mean, that's so impressive. I mean, in a pinch, you're that's probably the guy to go to. And I would love to see I'm praying that this happens because I would love to see if he values that one at bat that Funderburk might take just to waste, because the 3 batter minimum now, you can't bring him in for like one pitch, hope he gets a ground out on like a slider outside, and then hey, go take your AB and we'll switch you out next inning. God, that's going to be so fun to see if that actually happens. Now I need that before the end of the year. I need a Funderburk at bat. And when that inevitably comes up, I'll say, back on May 15th, Declan had to write that down. But between you and me and the people maybe watching on YouTube, first off, if you are watching, subscribe while you're here. But boy, it's we can ignore that if that never comes up and you won't take a ding in the write that down standings.
But it would be a home run, obviously, right? Like I know
that's a home run, absolutely.
But come on, it would only happen obviously in a crazy situation.
A towering shot.
But the load management plan, and again, there was a big piece in ESPN.com. Jesse Rogers wrote about it. I believe he talked to the Phillies and the Brewers about it. It's going to start happening in baseball. Now, again, I don't think it starts happening to the degree that we've seen in the NBA, and the NBA had to take protocols to literally start fining and not suspending, but you couldn't do load management as much as as it was being abused before in previous years. So I don't think it'll get to that point. And with pitchers, there really isn't like a load management plan. Like, it's just rare you're not going to see a starter obviously throw on short rest outside of playoff baseball. There's sometimes instances with relievers where they can throw on back-to-back days, but they're never going to throw 3 straight days. So like with pitchers, I don't think that this is really much of an issue to a degree. I think long-term load management, like in terms of like Chris Paddock has only thrown, 55 innings over the last few years. Well, they're probably going to be careful with him. But again, I don't know if that falls into the load management of just sitting on your keister. That's more of this guy hasn't been able to do this ever before, so we got to be careful to long stretch him out. I think the load management plan as it relates to Buxton is obviously going to be probably the number one thing that the Twins will have to figure out, to keep him healthy and to keep him on the field.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing when it comes down to it, and especially with the history there, you got to go cautious. But it's a matter of how much, it's a car that's on, you have so many miles to burn. Like the gas tank, you're gonna put $5 in here and there, obviously, and those are the off days. But you just can't let it get down to E, or else you're stranded on the highway without a primetime center field. Exactly.
Hit the like button. Hit that subscribe button. This is SKOR North Extra Innings. You can expect content just about every home game for the Minnesota Twins. We'll have a post game tomorrow of Extra Innings. after this series wraps up with the Yankees, Twins and Yankees for Game 2 on Wednesday night. It is a Pablo day, so it should be exciting next 2 games. Joe Ryan throwing on Thursday. Also, of course, Flagrant Howls will be live tomorrow after Game 6 for the Wolves and Nuggets. Hopefully there's a Game 7. You can expect some scoops. And NFL schedule release, that should be coming out the next couple hours. We're recording this at about 4:45 p.m. on Wednesday. So the NFL schedule release, also plenty of great content. The offseason never sleeps across any of our platforms, so we appreciate you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. This is SKOR North Extra Innings. I'm Declan. That's AJ. We'll be talking at you tomorrow.